Today we're going to be unpacking the captivating allure of South Korean actress Kim Min-hee. She's got this really interesting quote. She once said, "All the men I've set my eyes on have fallen for me."
Wow.
Pretty bold, right in.
Yeah, that's quite the statement.
So we're going to kind of try to explore what makes her so irresistible to some people. We're going to be using a podcast discussion that we found about Kim Min-hee's appeal as our main source today. And this podcast focuses mostly on her relationships with some very famous men. So let's go beyond just the surface level stuff and really analyze, like, what are those elements that make her so fascinating?
Yeah, I think a great place to start might be with this idea of sexual tension, this kind of like invisible force that draws people in. Kim Min-hee seems to have like mastered this in a lot of ways.
Okay, sexual tension. I like it, but it does feel kind of elusive. So how can we break it down? And you know what makes it work?
Well, you can think of it as a combination of three things: contradiction, space, and focus. And each one of these kind of adds a layer of complexity and intrigue, I think.
All right, ready? Let's unpack these, starting with contradiction. What does that even mean when we're talking about someone like Kim Min-hee?
Okay, so think about some of her film roles, like in The Handmaiden, where she plays this delicate, seemingly innocent noblewoman. But then as that story unfolds, we see this like cunning and manipulative side kind of emerge. And it's that ability to embody these contrasting qualities. I think that's what makes her so captivating to a lot of people.
So it's not just being one thing or the other, but like embracing both.
Exactly. And this isn't just limited to like her acting roles either. It's reflected in her personal life too. She's known for like really diving headfirst into these passionate relationships, but then like walking away when they reach their peak, like with the director Hong Sang-soo.
That's right. Leaving a successful relationship at its peak. Definitely not the conventional path. It takes a certain kind of courage to just like defy those expectations and choose your own path.
100%. And that courage is a key part of what makes that contradiction so compelling. It really challenges like this traditional idea of women seeking security in relationships. And instead it showcases this self-reliance. It's intriguing and inspiring, I think.
That makes a lot of sense. So contradiction is about owning those complexities and having that courage to break free from expectations. Okay, so what about space? It sounds kind of mystical.
Yeah, it is a little bit. It's about creating an aura of mystery and making your attention feel valuable. You remember that video of Kim Min-hee at the Berlin International Film Festival?
Right. Yeah.
When she was alone, she seemed almost detached, like lost in her own world. But then in interviews, she becomes intensely focused and engaged, which makes those moments feel so special.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like she's not constantly seeking attention.
Right.
But when she gives it, it feels deliberate and meaningful.
Exactly. She's not afraid to just be alone with her thoughts, which makes those moments of connection that much more valuable. She's not clinging to other people for validation. She's comfortable in her own skin.
So space isn't really about physical distance. It's more about a sense of self-assurance. That lets her be present and engaged on her own terms. It's the courage to be comfortable just being by yourself.
You got it. And that leads us perfectly into the final element, focus.
Okay, hit me with it. What does focus have to do with her magnetism?
Well, think about it like this. She has this remarkable ability to make whoever she's with feel like they're the most important person in the world. It's like she channels all of her energy into them and just showers them with attention and genuine interest.
So she's not just present, she's like completely focused. But how do we know it's genuine and not an act?
That's the fascinating part. The podcast we're looking at describes it as performing admiration. Think of it like an actor immersing themselves in a role. He's not necessarily worshiping the other person, but she is fully committed to that interaction, highlighting all of their positive qualities and making them feel seen and appreciated.
Okay, now that's interesting. It's like she's playing the game of attraction. But she's aware and intentional. And it's not about manipulating someone, it's about using her focus to create a genuine connection, even if it's fleeting.
Exactly, and it takes a certain level of courage to be that present, to be that vulnerable in each interaction. It's about embracing the theatricality of life without losing yourself in it. Welcome back to our deep dive on Kim Min-hee. We've been exploring this idea of sexual tension as a key to her allure, breaking it down into contradiction, space, and focus.
Yeah, and we just finished unpacking that last element, focus, which you described as performing admiration. It's such a fascinating concept, and I'm still kind of turning it over in my mind.
It's a concept that I think really applies to all of us, not just Kim Min-hee. It's about recognizing that we all have this capacity to make others feel seen and appreciated.
You know, what really strikes me is how this idea of performing admiration connects back to her brokenness, which we talked about a little earlier.
Oh, that's a great observation.
Right.
How do you see those two things connecting?
Well, I'm thinking about how when we've experienced our own pain and heartbreak, we kind of develop a deeper understanding of vulnerability. And maybe that allows us to see and connect with the vulnerability in others more easily.
Absolutely. There's a shared understanding that comes from having walked through fire, and it creates a space for empathy and genuine connection.
Right. And maybe that's why she's so good at making people feel seen and understood, because she's not afraid to show her own vulnerability, which allows others to feel safe opening up to her.
Yeah, that vulnerability can be incredibly disarming, especially when it's paired with strength and self-awareness.
It's like she's saying, I see your imperfections and I accept them because I accept my own.
Exactly. And that level of acceptance can be incredibly attractive because it allows people to feel truly seen and appreciated for who they are, flaws and all.
But how do we translate this concept of performing admiration to our own lives? I mean, it's easy to admire someone like Kim Min-hee from afar, but how do we cultivate that kind of presence and magnetism in our everyday interactions?
It starts with just being more mindful, putting down our phones, making eye contact, and really listening to what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally.
So being present, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Exactly. It's about giving the other person your undivided attention, even if it's just for a few moments, and responding in a way that shows you're truly listening and that you care.
So not just nodding and smiling politely, but like asking thoughtful questions, offering feedback, making the other person feel like their thoughts and feelings are important.
You're absolutely right. It's about creating a space where the other person feels safe to be themselves, to share their ideas and to connect with you on a deeper level.
But you know, in our busy, distraction-filled world, it can be hard to consistently be that present and attentive.
Of course, it's a practice, and like any practice, it takes time and effort. But the more we prioritize genuine connection over superficial interactions, the more natural it becomes.
So it's about shifting our focus from, what can I get from this person? How can I make this person feel seen and appreciated?
That's a really powerful shift in perspective, and it's one that can transform our relationships and our lives.
Thinking about her career, I can see how she's applied this kind of focus, not only in her personal life, but also in her work as an actress.
Absolutely. She's known for her incredible dedication to her craft, fully immersing herself in each role.
That's right. I read that on the set of The Handmaiden. She spent hours studying the gestures and mannerisms of aristocratic women from that period.
Wow. That level of commitment is remarkable. It's like she brings that same focused attention to her work that she brings to her personal interactions.
And maybe that's part of what makes her so captivating on screen. She's not just acting, she's truly inhabiting the character.
Exactly. She brings a depth and authenticity to her performances that is both mesmerizing and relatable.
So performing admiration is about more than just charming people. It's about cultivating a mindset of genuine curiosity, empathy, and respect. It's about showing up fully and authentically in all aspects of our lives.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about recognizing that we all have something to offer, and that by truly seeing and appreciating others, we create this ripple effect of positivity and connection.
It's about making the world a little brighter, one interaction at a time.
Beautifully said. And I think that's a powerful message to carry with us as we continue to explore this concept of performing admiration.
You know, I'm starting to think that performing admiration isn't just about making ourselves more attractive to others, but it's also about making ourselves more attractive to ourselves.
I love that. How so?
Well, when we make the effort to genuinely connect with others, to make them feel seen and appreciated, we also start to see and appreciate ourselves more.
That's a beautiful insight. It's like we're reflecting back to ourselves the qualities we admire in others.
Exactly. And in that process, we start to cultivate those same qualities within ourselves. We become more compassionate, more empathetic, more present, more magnetic.
It's a virtuous cycle, and it all starts with making a conscious choice to shift our focus outward, to truly see and appreciate the people around us.
And in doing so, we uncover this hidden treasure, a deeper connection, not only with others, but also with ourselves.
Beautifully said. And I think that's a perfect segue into our final part of this deep dive.
All right, so welcome back for the third and final part of our deep dive into the captivating world of Kim Min-hee. We spent the last two parts unraveling the mystery of her allure, exploring sexual tension as a force. And, we broke it down into contradiction, space, and focus. Plus, we even examine how she uses performing admiration to connect with others authentically.
Exactly. And so now the big question is, how do we apply all of this to our own lives? How do we become more captivating and create deeper connections with the people around us?
Right. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We've laid out the blueprint, but how do we actually build something with it?
Well, let's revisit those three elements we talked about. Contradiction.
Hey.
It's not just about being unpredictable. It's about really owning your whole self, the good, the bad, the messy, and the beautiful.
So embracing our complexities instead of trying to hide them.
Precisely. Think about her career choices. She starred in independent films, blockbusters, even romantic comedies. She's not afraid to experiment and push boundaries, and that willingness to be different, to challenge expectations. I think that's part of what makes her so interesting.
It's like she's saying, I'm not going to fit into any neat little box. I'm going to be my own unique self.
Exactly, and that confidence is contagious. It inspires others to embrace their own uniqueness. So ask yourself, what makes you different? What are your passions? What are your quirks? Don't be afraid to let those things shine.
Yeah, that's such a great reminder. Owning your story, even the messy parts, can be incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about space. This one's about carving out time for yourself, time for reflection or for pursuing your own interests. Remember, Kim Min-hee doesn't seem to crave constant attention or validation from other people. She's comfortable in her own company.
Yeah, and I think that self-assuredness is definitely part of her charms. Like, she doesn't need anyone to complete her. She's already whole.
Exactly. And that wholeness is what allows her to connect with others from a place of strength and authenticity. So how can you create more space in your own life? Maybe it's taking up a new hobby or spending more time in nature, or simply saying no to commitments that drain your energy.
It's about prioritizing your own well-being and finding that sense of peace and contentment within yourself.
You got it. And that inner peace is what makes you truly magnetic. It allows you to approach relationships from a place of abundance, not neediness.
Okay, so we've got contradiction, embracing our complexities. We've got space, cultivating inner peace. So what about focus? How do we apply that concept in our everyday interactions?
Well, remember what we talked about with performing admiration. It's about bringing that same level of attention and presence to every interaction, whether you're talking to a stranger, a colleague, or a loved one.
So making that person feel like they're the most important person in the world, at least for that moment.
Exactly. And it's not about putting on a fake persona or trying to manipulate people. It's about genuinely wanting to connect, to understand, to appreciate. It's about listening with your heart, not just your ears.
Being present, asking thoughtful questions, and showing genuine interest in what they have to say.
You nailed it. And those small acts of attention and kindness can have a profound impact. They can make someone's day, they can spark a new friendship, they can even deepen existing relationships.
This whole deep dive has really opened my eyes to the power of these subtle but profound shifts in how we approach our interactions.
Me too. And it's important to remember this is a journey, not a destination. We're all works in progress. But by embracing these principles of contradiction, space, and focus, we can become more captivating, more magnetic, and more fulfilled in our relationships and our lives.
So it's not about trying to become Kim Min-hee, it's about becoming the best version of ourselves.
Exactly. And I believe that the most attractive, alluring version of ourselves is the one that is authentic, compassionate, and fully engaged with the world around us.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the captivating world of Kim Min-hee. We've explored some fascinating ideas about allure, connection, and what it means to be truly magnetic.
And we hope this deep dive has inspired you to embrace your own complexities, to cultivate your inner strength, and to connect with others from a place of genuine curiosity and kindness.
Remember, the most captivating journey is the one we take to discover ourselves and to connect with the world around us. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring.